Let's now touch base with our correspondents on the issues that came up and also find how they were handled on the ground. We can start with Nanaya Ojima, who reported from the Ashanti region. Nanaya Ojima, he joins us live from the Ashanti region. I have all the other correspondents. Elias Tanko, I can see you. Precious Semevo is also there. We'll be joined by other correspondents to look at what characterized the just ended elections. Nana, how did the report about vote buying and confusion come about during your coverage of the election?
From confusion, there were a number of them even before the day of the election. The Ashanti region was scheduled to have the vote on Friday, but due to some issues with the album and also the venue for the election, the committee that was in charge of the election had to sit on that issue and try make sure that it's resolved. So for that reason, they had to postpone the election from Friday to Saturday, and also the venue had to be changed. Initially, the venue that was communicated to the delegates and the media was due to the misunderstanding, raising concerns with the venue. It was changed from the regional coordinating stadium. So that is where the event itself took place. Now, on the ground, it was supposed to start, the voting itself was supposed to start somewhere at 9 a.m. But delegates delayed in getting into the venue for the election. It took delegates more than 3 hours to come in. At a point, the MC for the event kept announcing that delegates should come in for the process to begin. But unfortunately, it took delegate hours. Many of these delegates came in after Bernard and Chukwusiakon, Chairman Odino Kwakwa and other aspirants worked with their supporters into the main premises of the Kumasi Sports Stadium. That was when most of the delegates came in to take their seats and for the whole process to begin. Now, before some of these delegates came in, our cameras could capture some of the delegates who had lined up beside a vehicle that we believe is owned by one of the leading aspirants for the election. And one after the other, delegates would enter the vehicle. There were other instances where we found some of the washrooms at the stadium also seized by some of the aspirants, and one after the other, some delegates would go in. And I tried finding out, and what I could gather is that some of them are still wrapping up with campaign. But we cannot point whether votes were bought on the ground. But we saw a series of meetings among some of the delegates, and sometimes you see some of the delegates with campaigners for some of these aspirants. So that was some of the things that transpired on the grounds. Coming to the main election, 4 constituencies were prevented by the election committee from casting their ballots. Communal constituency is one of them. Mampong, Drabin, and were all among these constituencies that were prevented from voting. And the reason was that there are some court issues that concerns the constituency elections that were held in these areas. And for that reason, the elections committee moved to block these candidates or delegates from these areas from coming in to cast their ballots. And this did not go down well with Chairman to me, especially when the committee also restrained delegates from the TESCON from also voting. And the reason earlier, the committee mentioned some schools among the 65 institutions that were part of the TESCON delegates to vote, that these schools were not given the go-ahead to vote. But some of the aspirants in the election moved to block all delegates from the TESCON unit from voting. Chairman Wuntumi again was not happy with this, and he believes that, according to him, it would not be fair to block some delegates that the constitution of the New Patriotic Party had mandates them to vote from casting their ballot on the day. So these are some of the issues that delayed the election. Actually, this misunderstanding on these delegates delayed or stopped the process on two different occasions.
Were these issues resolved?
Aisha, it's difficult hearing. Can you please repeat your question?
How were the issues resolved, Nana Ojima?
So whenever these issues come in, you see the election committee headed by the regional minister, Simon Osemensa, call the delegates, and through deliberation, they will come to a logical conclusion. But sometimes there were some of these delegates, some of these aspirants who were still not comfortable with the conclusion that sometimes we see delegates themselves who had gotten access into the voting area and go after members of the committee, asking them for reasons why they should restrain them from casting their ballots. For instance, at a point where the polls had been closed by the EC, Chairman Wuntumi stood in and he wanted them to open polls once again for TESCON members or delegates from TESCON to come in and cast their ballot, even though the regional minister who headed the election committee resisted this. There was still some push.
And did that happen?
Chairman Wuntumi.
Did that happen?
You're asking whether what happened?
Whether the EC really opened up for the TESCON people to come and vote as elections had closed?
No. The committee in charge of the election, headed by the regional minister, stood against, because it's a resolution that a meeting between the committee and some of the aspirants had come to. It's a conclusion that they had drawn. So there was no reason for the regional minister to take the words of the committee back. So he resisted it and made sure that it didn't happen. So they went ahead to count the ballot that had already been cast.
And which declared him winner. Let's go to the Bono region and speak with Anas Sabit. Over there, some drama and confusion were recorded. Anas, what can you report from your region?
Aisha, I am in the Bono East region, and here the elections was held on Friday. Of course, there was a huge delay at the start because of some issues that needed to be resolved, and the delegates, the candidates, use the opportunity to engage the delegates more. But let me put this up, course, that out of the 10 positions that was up for grab, we had 2 positions where we had candidates going unopposed. Talk of the youth organizer position, and then that of the treasurer position. These 2 positions, we had candidates going unopposed. So we had 8 positions with candidates vying to represent the party. Out of the 8, we have 4 new faces at the close of polls, where the chairmanship position was, won by a new face, a new entrant, and the person of Ibrahim Babakari, who won in a landslide, manner, polling 151 votes compared to the incumbent Thomas Oliapia, who had only 78 of the total votes cast. So 4 new faces, the chairmanship position. The first chairman, we have also a new person, Amwakim David Yao, and then the second vice chairman, Baba Ahmed Abdullah, winning that position as well. And then the national coordinator, where we have Abdullah Abubakar also winning. The other 4 slots, the incumbents were able to retain their positions. The organizer position, Mr. Suleimana, secretary, we have David Abuachi, the assistant secretary, Muhammad Sibiliman, and then the women's organizer position, Sophia Afiye, Gans also retaining her position. So out of 10, we have 5 new faces and then 5 incumbents retaining their positions here in the Bono East region at the elections held in Kintampo on Friday.
Anna Sabit, were there incidents of vote buying as we're hearing from other regions?
There were allegations of, some of the candidates being managed to the delegates. Personally, I can't confirm, why I have no evidence to back that claim, but we had some of the candidates lamenting that issues close to that occurred here. And yes, personally, I cannot substantiate that particular allegation as well.
Let's now go to Anas Sabit, Elias Otanko. That was Anas Sabit from the Bono East region. Elias Otanko from the Northeast region has also joined us via Zoom with more from the Northeast region. Elias, what would you report from the just ended elections? Was it also characterized by the drama, confusion we've seen in other regions? Elias Otanko. Hello, Eliasu.
Yes, Aisha. Yes, comparatively no, but we recorded few issues here as well, especially during the day of voting, or if you like, after the voting. And it all started when the one of the aspirants for the chairmanship position was arrested by the police, and that is when it all started. He was arrested because some 3 armed men were arrested on the Wali Road with arms, and they mentioned his name, so he was picked up, and investigation, as I speak to you now, investigation on that particular case is still ongoing. So this is where it started. People then started to use it to campaign against him, and because this is a region for the vice president, where the vice president comes from, a lot of people agree that this particular election is very important for the aspirations of the vice president. And so most of the issues that came up were, resolved quietly. It never spiraled out of control to the public. And so the regional chairman, the Council of Elders were fully involved in this particular case, ensuring that issues that had to do with this election were resolved very quietly, and that is what happened. And so on the election day, which was on Friday, the election was very peaceful. In fact, it conducted. There was a few delays, not because aspirants were still campaigning, because people had to travel from far places like Cherpone and Yagaba, Mampurgu, Muanduru, which is very far from the regional capital. That is when the election delayed a bit. But when they all arrived and the election started, everything went smoothly, except at the last minutes of the election, when a young man was arrested by the police. He was trying to enter into the voting ground with a firearm, and he was quickly arrested and whisked away. And apart this particular incident, there was no any other incident recorded. Everything went smoothly, and immediately the election was declared, the losing aspirant and their agent all congratulated the winners, and everything went smoothly in this particular election.
Elias Otanko there from the Northeast region. Precious Semevo has also joined us from the Bono region. Precious Semevo, paint a picture of how events unfolded over there.
Yeah, so Aisha, the election took place yesterday at the Pastoral Center here in Sunyani. Now, a bit of delayance for various reasons, including trying to sort some background issues before the exercise itself took off. Eventually, it took off just around 12:30 p.m. Yesterday afternoon. Now, in the Bono region, we have 12 constituencies that were expected to have taken part in the exercise, with a total delegate number of 262 in the whole exercise. Now, all the stakeholders were present. The police personnel were strategically positioned to the extent that it will be difficult for anyone who has no business to do at the event grounds to get access to the place. That is, if you are not a delegate, you are not an observer or any other approved person to get close to that area, it will be difficult for you to get there. So the police did everything possible to ensure that the place was serene and comfortable for the exercise to take place. Now, when the elections committee chairman by name Kwabena Okon allowed the exercise to start, 9 constituencies took part in the exercise, supervised by the Electoral Commission, led by the regional director himself, Frank Ohini Okreku. Now, the drama started after the 9th constituency. Now, 3 constituencies had issues from their polling station and constituency elections, to the extent that it got to court. Injunctions were placed on these 3 constituencies. And you have Sunyani East as one of them, German South as the other one, and then Doma Central as the 3rd constituencies. So after the 9 constituencies, the delegate had finished going through the process, the Electoral Commission said that they have been served with a notice of an injunction, and for that matter, they were not going to allow those delegates from those 3 constituencies to take part in the exercise. And as such, they started packing their things to start counting the 9 constituencies that had gone through the process. But the elections committee chairman for the NPP in the Bono region, Kwabena Okon, said that as far as he is concerned, as far as the committee is concerned, they have not been served with any injunction. And for that matter, he was going to supervise the remaining 3 constituencies to go through the election. So apparently they anticipated that, so they came well prepared with their own ballot boxes, with inscriptions, pasted on them. And then whilst the EC were packing their things, they were also arranging their things to go through with the 3 remaining constituencies. Back and forth disagreement here and there, pushing and shoving, all that, but the security were on top of that, trying to ensure that sanity prevails at the end of the day. So whilst the elections committee were going through with the 3 remaining constituencies, just some few steps from there, the commission was also counting the constituencies that they had supervised. Now, after that, 2 declarations, took place. 2 declarations, one by the Electoral Commission and then one by the Elections Committee chairman. Now, the Elections Committee chairman's declaration was a combination of the EC and then the remaining 3 constituencies that he supervised. So that is what transpired. A bit of misunderstanding, but they allowed the process to go on. The Elections Committee categorically said that they cannot disenfranchise these delegates from these constituencies. But the interesting thing is that though 2 declarations were made, every winner of the election, all the 10 positions, where there are 26 candidates vying for those 10 positions, everyone who won in the 9 constituencies supervised by the Electoral Commission also won in the 3 constituencies plus that of the EC, making it 12. I don't know if you dynamics. All those who won in the 9 constituencies also won in the addition of the 9 plus the 3 injuncted constituencies. Okay. So that brought a bit of calmness in the exercise. But at the end of the day, out of the 7 incumbents who tried to get their positions, renewed again, only 1 person got kicked out of the region as an executive member. So, but the chairmanship position went to Kwame Bafo, well known as Abronye. He pulled. Yes, Abronye is the incumbent. He defeated Rashid Kolambeg, who happens to be the organizer before the election, and then the current regional NADMO boss. But he defeated him 173 as against 84 vote. So that was an emphatic victory enough to ensure that he goes through. Now, the first vice chairmanship went to
Precious Semevo, those were
Joseph
updates coming from Precious Semevo. Definitely, Abronye is the one who won the elections, the chairmanship elections. He retained his seat. I think we should go to the Upper West region where the chairman also retained his seat. Rafiq Salam is there for us. Rafiq, 112 and 130 between the incumbent and the contender is very close. Was it a signal that the people didn't really want a change, but money actually changed the narrative?
This question is still difficult to answer, but let me tell you that this was a competition or a contest between some forces in the party who were unseen. You have the Interior Minister, Ambrose Derry, and the Upper West Regional Minister on one side, siding with the current chairman, SB Kangbare. And you also have Antonio Fakabo, former Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways, and Amidi Chinia Isaku, who happens to be a Deputy Minister for Sanitation, also siding with Alaji Tuiba Mahama, ATM. And so it was a battle for who controls the political space in the Upper West region than those people who are referred to here as mere rubber stamps. The big difference here, I can report to you, Isa, is that the Kangbare side, they have an ambush in their side because this is somebody that who came into the region some few days ago, spoke to some of the delegates, and also at least, you know, some of these positions are contract and also appointment or just employment portfolios that they are holding. At least the mere talking to them alone would swing the pendulum to their side. So that was exactly what happened in favor of the incumbent chairman, Kangbare. But let me also state that this was the result, an election that went peacefully, except the alleged assault on the man who is the former national coordinator of the party, otherwise known as the Zongo governor. He was alleged to have been slapped by the election committee that really nearly brought some confusion to the venue. But the police came in timely, arrested him, but he was later released. Apart from that, it was a peaceful atmosphere.
So you have the Upper West Region correspondent Rafiq Salam. He says the chairman was he retained his seat, but against his opponents who also polled 112. Now we can go to Martina Bugri from the northern region, where we had reports of 6 people who were picked on Friday. Martina, before we even talk about vote buying accusations, what happened to the 6 people that were picked?
6 people were released on Saturday after party boys went on the streets to burn some ties and party paraphernalia around the Abuabu area, around the former UT Bank area. That's where the incident happened. They were protesting the police still keeping these boys. And so later we saw party officials at the police station to be able to get bail for those who were arrested. And that actually happened. So they were released. But police say they would still investigate the issues and then ensure that those who are found culpable are sent to court.
Were there also allegations of vote buying in your region?
Well, let me take it from how it all started. A night before the elections, there were radio discussions and open admission of trading of goodies to party delegates before the election. And so it was not surprising at the venue when the NDC, Northern Regional Secretary, raised that issue that it was embarrassing that party officials, or I should say campaign members, would admit publicly that they were doing an illegality. So yes, these are allegations that came up, but one is unable to actually say this is what this person got. But these issues came up at the elections ground.
Thank you very much, Martina Bugri. She's our correspondent in the northern region.